Hi, this is Chase Utley, and this is the Phillies Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Phillies Show. Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zolecki. It's Monday, September 16th, 2024. I'm in Wisconsin, my hometown. Grew up here, born and raised a huge Brewers fan. Flew in last night. And Jim, I've found, maybe about a month ago, somebody sent us a question about beat writer pet peeves. And you said shorts on a plane. You hate shorts on a plane. I've found one airport behavior that to me supersedes shorts on a plane, and that is FaceTime phone calls without a headset on.
Terrible.
I had two of them. I had to run from the ballpark to the airport last night, so I'm sitting at this hotel bar getting something to eat, a mediocre chicken sandwich, and there were two different FaceTime phone calls, one to the left, one to the right, following one another. So my whole dinner was just listening to people talk to one over the phone. That is terrible behavior. Any listeners out there, do not do this. This is a lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, it's awful.
But other than that,
it's egregious. That's egregious too, Jim. Turn your phone off.
Who's calling me at 8 a.m.
during our podcast? Well, maybe it's
big news, man. Maybe it's
big news. Maybe.
So Todd, you're in your hometown. I always loved going to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And I used to stay a little bit outside out by where you grew up. And I used to love to drive down Blue Mound Road.
Yes.
And stop at Gillies you could get a hot dog, you could get a cheeseburger, but I was really partial to their fried fish sandwich.
Oh yeah. They got a lot of those great places. My spot, somebody, Destiny Legardo, who covers the Phillies for Phillies Nation, asked me a place to stop at. And I said, there's this place called Cops. They do these butter burgers, which are huge burgers like that big. And they do the best frozen custard. Wisconsin does frozen custard like Philly does cheesesteaks. So no offense to any frozen custard places in Philly, but Wisconsin is where
you can go and offend them. Right? You can offend them. That's okay.
Frozen custard.
Frozen custard. I always come home feeling a little bit. Coming home to Philly, I was feeling a little bit more like I added a couple inches of the waistline.
Have you been to Gillies?
I've been to Gillies. Yep, I've been to Gillies. But Cops is the place I always go to. That'll be my lunch spot today.
I got to ask this question though. Are you sleeping in your childhood bed?
No, I'm not.
What? Why not?
Yeah, no. It's kind of been converted into it's like a storage room almost now. There's like a non-used treadmill. I think maybe one of my parents uses the treadmill every once in a while, but it's just stuff in there. It's just stuff.
What's it like being home? Is it cool being back home?
Well, it's funny because people always ask me where I stay when I'm here, and I stay at my parents' house because it gives me an opportunity to see them a little bit more. It's good though. It's fun coming home. Like I said, I grew up a huge Brewers fan. Robin Yount, Paul Molitor, the '82 Brewers. That was my team that kind of got me into baseball. So,
where's your? Do you have any Gorman Thomas bobbleheads?
Gorman Thomas.
You know what? Honestly, I probably do because every time we come here, or if my dad goes to a game, he'll grab a bobblehead and send. Well, I have a great one of Robin Yount riding a motorcycle because when they lost the World Series in '82. He rode into County Stadium. This is what it was like back then. They had a parade in Milwaukee for losing. And so they had a big thing at County Stadium, and Robin Yount rides in on this motorcycle. And so I have a really cool bobblehead of him doing that. So. There's probably a 7-year-old kid right now, who's going to say the 2024 Phillies maybe are my team. I remember Cal Stevenson having a big week late in the season. I was at the Cal Stevenson game. Let's talk about this weekend, guys. And the week they sweep the Rays. They take 2 out of 3 against the Mets. The magic number is now down to 5. They have a 9-game lead in the NL East over the Braves and the Mets with 13 games to play. Last 30 games, they're 21-9. That's the best record in baseball. Great weekend, though. I mean, they get blown out on Friday against the Mets. Harper homers a couple times on Saturday. Sanchez pitches great. Some clutch hits all around. Buddy Kennedy. Great weekend.
Great homestand, great weekend, great month so far. Headed toward big things. I mean, I thought yesterday's win was a little bit symbolic of the whole homestand. Sanchez had pitched 2 gems on the homestand, and this second tier cast of characters that every team needs. You need a roster that goes well beyond 26 men, and this crew: Weston, Wilson, Kody Clemens, Buddy Kennedy. They've all come up from AAA when guys have gotten banged up, and they've really contributed. I mean, Weston Wilson with that big hit, Buddy Kennedy with that huge hit. Obviously Sanchez pitched great. But to me, Nick Castellanos' performance was the most underrated performance of the day. He gets that big base hit with, 1 out in the 9th.
Right.
And, they had a red light on him, like, don't go. And then when it got to 2 outs and 2 strikes, Thompson puts on the green light, meaning, if you can make it, go. And that green light can act as a little nudge, and he pulls off that huge stolen base after getting green lighted there and scores on Real Muto's hit. So really, I thought a nice piece of managing by Rob Thompson. Terrific win, terrific way to cap off a homestand. They just feel like they are so peaking at the right time.
It does.
And this is exactly what we talked about when they were slumping, and Chase Utley made those comments, and others made those comments about, you got to go through some adversity to come out to the on the other side and be playing the best baseball you can at the right time, and that's sort of what's happening right now. You talk about unsung heroes, and we've talked about this a few times because we recognize it, but the bullpen has just been extraordinary. It really just has been extraordinary. I mean, up and down the lineup, when you start thinking about the depth of what is being created, Jose Ruiz pitching in a tie ball game in the 8th or 9th inning. You talk about having some depth. You start with him on the totem pole, and then you go to Kerkering, Strom, Alvarado now, who's pitching extremely well, and he's starting to come back to where he was. And then obviously you have your Hoffmans and the Stevenses of the world, but that's a pretty damn deep bullpen right now, and they're pitching extraordinarily well. And Rob Thompson putting guys in certain situations. He talked about it on Ruiz. He might have to pitch in the 6th or 5th when it's really tight and he's got a couple men on, or he's got a situation where he's got to hold the lead. But he did it in this case, deep in the game, and gave him a chance to win a baseball game. And that's just huge, man. That's huge when you have that number. I mean, just think about how Houston beat the Phillies in the World Series a couple of years back. They did it with the depth of their pitching, great bullpen, obviously very, very good rotation, but their bullpen they just outmatched the Phillies, and hopefully that's the case this year for the Phillies. They've been doing things right, and you see some small ball happening, man. You see a little bunt action, and guys are getting some bunts down. That they're getting the bunt down, and that the guy may not drive the guy in, but the next guy's picked him up. So you see a little, couple of different things that are happening over the course of the last couple of weeks, and particularly in this week, and there's a lot of really positive signs as they prepare to be a playoff contender and prepare to be the NL East champs.
Yeah, Jose Ruiz, I feel like the last couple of weeks he's been getting mentioned a lot more. You almost look up his numbers like, oh wow, he's having a really nice year, because remember when he came up, he was kind of like the mop-up guy. Right. I mean, he
pitches every day almost.
Yeah, he pitches every day. And Rob was saying that he wanted to stay away from 2 of the 3 righties, and Hoffman, Estevez, and Kerkering. He used Kerkering. So he wanted to stay away from the other 2 guys. Because I thought the same thing, Ruben. Like when he came in, I was like, Jose Ruiz is pitching in the 8th inning of this game. What's something must be going on here. It was a little confusing, but then he explained afterward and made a lot of sense. But the bullpen has been fantastic. And guys, we'll be right back.
Snoring sucks. So does congestion from sinuses, allergies, or a cold. And you might not even realize how much it's affecting you. FT fam, you need to try Navage Nasal Care. It's been a game changer for me.
Yeah, Kratz, Navage uses that smooth saline flow and nasal suction to clear those nasal passages.
Now I'm breathing easier, which is a pretty big deal in my life. My Navage unit is clearing my congestion fast day and night. I use it twice per day as part of my daily routine.
We want to help you get relief from your congestion too. Our listeners can order a convenient Navage starter pack, including a nose cleaner with batteries included and 30 original salt pods. Everything you need to get started. Plus, get a cleaning kit as a free gift with your order, but only going to our exclusive URL, navage.com/FAL, and using our promo code FAL. Again, to order your Navage free cleaning kit and for full product details, go to navage.com/FAL. That's promo code FAL at navage.com/FAL.
We are back, and let's jump right into the Philly of the Week. Philly of the Week, presented by Scheib Vintage Sports. Get unique throwback Phillies tees, hats, and sweatshirts from local artists at their shops in Center City, Wayne, and Westchester, and at scheibsports.com. We all love our Scheib gear, guys. Got my Blue Horizon. Jimmy's got a vet.
I got nothing on today.
Well, you have some. You have something on this.
I have like 4 or 5 shirts. I love them. Love them all. Bring me back to the back of the day.
Back in the day. That's right. That's right. How about Philly of the Week? Let's start with James. James, who do you got for your Philly of the Week?
You know, I'm going group effort here. I'm going that second tier group of reserve players, the replacements, let's call them. That, you know, come up from AAA, and when guys get banged up and they contribute. I mean, Cal Stevenson, both sides of the ball, twice this homestand, robs a home run, couple big hits. Kody Clemens, big hit. Wes Wilson, big hit. Buddy Kennedy draws that big walk, brings the fans into the game yesterday. Huge double. So I'm going with that group of reserves. I don't know if any of them are going to be on the postseason roster, how they're going to work that out. But, you know, you got to get to the postseason, and these guys have had a huge homestand in helping this team chisel the magic number down to 5. I just love the joy of the game that Buddy Kennedy brings when he's standing on second base, that big smile. You know, now he's in Milwaukee where his granddad was a great third baseman for the Brewers, and Wes Wilson, big hit. Stevenson robbing that home run. What an inning, huh? Was it an inning or a 2-inning stretch?
Basically an inning.
Robs the home run. Yeah. And Clemens makes things happen. They're my Philly of the Week under kind of one umbrella.
The bench
15 minutes of fame, but they're the reserves, but they got skills.
Yeah, good baseball players.
They absolutely do. Ruben, who you got?
No, go ahead, Rod. Go ahead, Todd. I'll go.
Well, it's funny. I was actually thinking the same thing, Jim, like a collective effort. But I'm just going to say, I'm going to single one guy out, and I'm going to say Cal Stevenson because of you could tell how much all those guys appreciate all their moments when they come through because they're so few and far between, and they've grinded through the minor leagues. I mean, remember Wes Wilson, all those guys. Buddy Kennedy, grew up a Phillies fan. But I'm going to say Cal Stevenson because he has the huge hit on Thursday. It's kind of sparking that benches clearing incident because he got the ball rolling. After the game, he says, that's the biggest hit of my career for sure. Biggest hit of my career, 100%. And then he has the big hit on Saturday and the catch on Saturday. So I asked him, I said, so on Thursday, you said that was the biggest hit of your career. He's like, this one probably tops that one. So, the two biggest hits of his career in 1 week. And he's not playing for a bad team, just playing it out, a nice little story you can tell. It's like, I'm actually helping this team, clinch the best record in baseball, potentially going into the World Series. Whether or not he's on the postseason roster, who knows? And then the catch he made, fantastic. He caught it right in the palm of the glove. And he said, I felt like I had a great time. He's like, I might have jumped a little bit too high because it landed in the palm of the glove. It's like, I squeezed the hell out of that glove to make sure it didn't pop out. So he's my Philly of the Week. But Jim, we're kind of on the same track.
It's a great call on both your parts, but I'm going to go with my man Chris Sanchez. Cristopher Sanchez has been lights out, man, and he has been And really important right now because Ranger Suarez really hasn't been Ranger Suarez, and Aaron Nola has been steady, but he's also had that one inning every single time out where he just runs out of gas and starts leaving pitches in the middle of the plate and gets beat up pretty well. So he's also created a little bit of angst probably for Rob Thompson. Like, what am I going to do and how am I going to line up these three pitchers in the playoffs? Is it going to be Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez? Is it going to be Wheeler, Nola, Suarez? Is it going to be Wheeler, Sanchez, Nola? What's it going to be? And he's putting some heat on some people because he's dealing. And so it may not be the worst thing in the world to have him pitch at home. Number one, where he pitches great. And two, someone mentioned it. I didn't think it was going to happen, but the way he's pitching right now, man, in the biggest, literally the biggest games of the year, it's not like he's pitching in like against teams that aren't contending. Or he pitched against the Mets, and the Mets are kind of barking, we're moving and playing well and are playing well. And the man stepped up and pitched extraordinary games. He's been as durable as anybody else. He's been as consistent as anybody else. I mean, he's even going deeper into games than Zach Wheeler is at times. So listen, I got to give it to Chris Sanchez. I love the way he's getting, and the story is just amazing for him to get to this point from where he was in his career as a young major league player and to develop into the player that he is right now. He is a tremendous story, and he's my Philly of the week.
I mean, you can't go wrong with any of these guys. But let's stay on Sanchez, Ruben. I think last week we touched on this a little bit. Hypothetical NLDS. You need 4 starters, or let's say NLCS. Don't you have to pitch him at home? I mean, the splits are so wide. I mean, in other words, like, don't you open yourself up for some serious criticism if you go Wheeler, Nola at home and you start Sanchez? Say, hey, I know the splits are the splits, but we still think the stuff plays on the road the same. I mean, JT said that too. I asked him yesterday. He said, I think the stuff is basically the same. I don't know why, but I feel like you're just opening yourself up for some major, major criticism if you start him on the road and he struggles for whatever reason. When it's like this 2.05 home ERA this year, it's like the 5th lowest for the Phillies since 1920 out of any starter with like 13 or more starts. I mean, it's an insanely low home ERA from Connie Mack to Vet to Citizens Bank Park. It's just tremendous.
Jim?
I don't think you can manage a baseball team or any team in pro sports to avoid criticism, so you don't open yourself up to criticism. You have to manage the team in a way that you think gives you the best way to win a series. And I think it's almost indisputable, at least in terms of the stats, that Sanchez gives you a better chance to win at home. So you could slot him in number 2 behind Wheeler. My only concern would be, and he's not young, he's 27, but he's relatively young in his big league career. My only concern would be human nature that, wow, they're sticking me in the number 2 spot. I have to try to do more than, I'm capable of doing. You kind of don't stay within yourself, to use the cliche. I feel like you have to do too much. Like when a guy moves from 7 to 4 in the batting order, he feels like he has to do too much, and all of a sudden you don't get the best version of that guy. That would be my concern. But the way his stuff has been, the way he's pitching, and the way Nola's been, I mean, Sanchez's stuff seems to be trending upward, and he's at kind of by far a career high in innings. He's getting stronger. I probably would do it. Go with him second to get him on the field at home, where he obviously has a great vibe, and you could use Nola on the road in a more hostile territory. He's older, he's more experienced. I think he could probably handle it. But I'm not saying Nola can't pitch well at home. Nola can dial one up at any time. So, they have a lot to talk about, but least of Rob Thompson's concern should be open himself up to criticism. Everything should be about how do we win that day's game.
Yeah, you make a great point about the criticism. I think Rob Thompson cares. He thinks he needs to manage the game the way he needs to manage the game to win games and to win series. So I don't think he's worried about that. What I will also say about Rob Thompson is he believes in experience. He also believes in his guys. Like, he knows that Nola has pitched well when he has to in the playoffs. He knows he stepped up. So I would not be surprised that he does not go Wheeler Nola. And for that reason, he's been there, he's done it. And Sanchez has not. Sanchez has not been there, and he has not done it. And so that's a difference. And so I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just, giving you like the picture of what, how Rob Thompson, I believe, thinks. And so there is that possibility, even though he pitches extraordinarily well at home, that Sanchez will be the third starter. I don't think Suarez is going to be the third starter based on what I see, unless Suarez dials up one tonight in Milwaukee where he is just absolutely lights out. And that would be a tremendous problem for Rob Thompson to have. I just feel like Sanchez has put himself in a position to be one of the top 3 starters. And honestly, I don't care any way he gets it done. I trust all these guys, and I think Rob Thompson would too.
Knowing Rob's personality, steady wins, I could definitely see him putting Nola 2, and I can see Nola delivering. And I know Sanchez hasn't pitched as well on the road as he has at home by far, but he can pitch. There's nothing that says he can't go out and pitch well on the road. This is baseball. He's got talent. He can deliver. But it is a fascinating topic of conversation based on the splits, based on the recent performance going into the postseason. If Nola pitches like Nola and Sanchez pitches like Nola, it's win-win.
Yeah, great point. It'll be interesting to see. It's a nice problem to have when you have Cristopher Sanchez talking about maybe bumping Aaron Nola to game 3. There's worse problems to have than that.
You're darn tootin'.
How about another nice problem to have, or no longer really, is that Bryce Harper got off the schneid, hit a couple home runs on Saturday night. And, you could tell he was frustrated earlier in the week. He hit that ball like literally off the top of the wall, Jim, right? I mean, you mentioned that the other day in Miami, and then 2 in Citizens Bank Park. And he was like, I cannot believe these balls are going out. So he sounded frustrated and annoyed that they had not gone out. And then finally on Saturday, he hits a couple. And, after the game, he says, I would have gone another 100 or 200 as long as we're winning. I don't know. I mean, I feel like he would still like to hit some home runs. I know what he's saying. But good signs from him going into the final couple weeks of the season to see him, finally hit that good fly ball that lands over the fence, as Charlie Manuel likes to say. Right?
He's having a great month. Look at his numbers. Great month with OPS starting with 1 point something. It's just like you said, wasn't landing over the wall. I mean, the exit velos were there. It's just got to get a millimeter under it and a little backspin or drive it the other way like he knows how to do.
Yeah.
I think human nature being human nature and Bryce Harper being Bryce Harper, and he's got this profile of what he's a power hitter. I think power hitters feel better even when they're raking, hitting 340 in a month. I think they feel better when they're hitting home runs. So the mental side of the game is so important. So that I think that really can benefit him and the whole team that a couple of them went down in the seats.
So a couple of things on Harper. One, disappointed in what he did when he didn't run the ball out. Something that's sort of inexcusable for him, not, thinking that he hit a home run and not being at second base. And that's just, and I think he probably knows that. But I also have to talk about a little bit about his maturity as a hitter. Okay, this is a violent swinging guy. He's always, every pass he takes to the ball is pretty violent. Not that he doesn't have a plan, but he's very violent with his swing. Now, he's had to cut that down a little bit because of his elbow and his wrist or whatever the issue he's got going on in his elbow. And what I've seen from him is he's hitting balls the other way or trying to move the ball the other way and getting base hits when he has to cut down his swing. I didn't think he had the ability to do this. I really didn't. As a young player, I know he didn't. But as he's gotten older and he's gotten wiser, I think it's pretty unique and pretty cool to see a power hitter, a guy who drives the ball out of the ballpark. I mean, he's a pretty complete hitter, but for him to cut down his swing and to make sure that he makes contact with 2 strikes and flip the ball to the left field and do those sorts of things, Even though he's not driving the ball out of the ballpark, he's still having really productive at bats, and that's something that we cannot lose sight of, and something that you're going to need in the playoffs. Like you're going to need him to cut down the swing and drive the ball left, because they're going to try to stay away from him, or whatever the case may be. And for him to have matured in that way is something that I have observed over this month. It's been pretty interesting.
I'm probably overstating this, but that he had a 2-2 take on a sweeper. It was like down and it was down, and he could have swung over that thing very easily. It was a nice take. And I remember JT Realmuto once saying, when Bryce is going good, when his takes are good. I felt like that was a really good take. And then next pitch, boom, gone. So great at bat by him.
Do you think that less is more approach that you're kind of articulating, Ruben, could be a roadmap for the future? Keep him, for him, he's been
keep
around,
him healthy. Keep him healthy, or keep him around a long time, because he has some back issues. Yeah. Obviously, very violent with his swing. Pat Gillick and I talked about that a lot when he signed his big deal. Like, everything he does is very violent. Right. Whether he's playing in the outfield, whether he's throwing a baseball, whether he's trying to make a play on defense. I mean, this is a high effort guy typically when he's on the field. Mm-hmm. His swings are very aggressive. Can this guy stay healthy throughout? That, and I think maybe it is. That's a great point, Jim, because if he sees that he has the ability to do those other things and not necessarily have to drive the ball out of the ballpark, but have a productive at bat, get a base hit a double, get an RBI, get on base, and then when it's necessary, and somebody makes a mistake, boom, still have the ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark. That bodes well for him, and I think hopefully he learns from that, and that's a development process, even for a guy who's been around in the game 10 years.
He had those. Go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say, even with a swing that's cut down a little bit, he's such a strong man that if he gets the right pitch and the right, launch angle off the bat, he's going to hit his home runs as well.
The ball's going to go out of the ballpark, because the balls are, they're tighter than they used to be. They're going to fly a little bit better, and pitchers are creating the velocity for you. Mm-hmm.
Too bad he struggled for that. Well, whatever, like maybe it was a month and a half, because man, there's a lot of talk down the stretch about Ohtani and Lindor as a dark horse MVP candidate. Could he edge him? But Harper was right there. Remember, he was player of the month, NL player of the month in May and in June. And then he stumbled a little bit July, August. He's come on really hot, man. If he would been a little bit more consistent those midsummer months, we might be talking about Harper versus Ohtani for NL MVP. Alas, he will take the wins, and he will try to he'll be happy if he can be on a parade down Broad Street. He'll very much take that. So Phillies Brewers this week, magic numbers 5. Potentially, it's probably a long shot, they could clinch in Milwaukee. They would basically have to sweep the Brewers, and then the Braves and the Mets would have to lose 2 to get down to 5. So it's probably going to happen in New York, maybe Thursday or Friday. I'm supposed to be off Saturday or Sunday, so let's make it Thursday or Friday.
I'm supposed to be off all those days too, apparently, because of all the Nationals games, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Every game's a national game,
except for Saturday.
So Phillies Brewers, you have Ranger Suarez versus Aaron Savali, 6-8, 4.57 ERA tonight. Zach Wheeler, who's been every bit as good as Cristopher Sánchez over his last 9 starts. I think he's got an ERA under 2. Frankie Montas, 7-10. I think he's got a 4.49. And then Wednesday's series finale, Aaron Nola versus Freddie Peralta, who's their ace, 11-8, 3.75. They get to see Rhys Hoskins. I was just looking at Rhys's numbers, 24 home runs, but he's only batting 207, 702 OPS. Not really the year he wanted or expects out of himself, but maybe
still dangerous. Super dangerous.
I will say this: I have seen him come up with a lot of big home runs this season for the Brewers. So, and I'm sure he'll be geared up this week. So, Phillies Brewers. We will be back on Wednesday. If anybody wants to fire off some questions, baseball questions, life questions, Jim and Ruben offer great life advice about anything that's going on. Feel free to fire them our way. We'll answer some of those on Wednesday. And guys, I'm going to go get a butter burger and some frozen custard in a little bit. That'll be my breakfast.
Enjoy.
Todd, make sure you don't break curfew tonight.
I was such a loser in high school. I never broke curfew once.
You know,
So I won't break it tonight.
You are such a
All right.
nerd. Such a nerd.
Total nerd. Smell you later.
Smell you later, boys.
Smell you guys.
This is The Phillies Show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to The Phillies Show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. If you like what we do, give us a review. Tell a friend. Catch Ruben, Jim, and me on Phillies Nation TV, presented by Valley Forge Tourism. New episodes air an hour before every Saturday Phillies game on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Replays air throughout the week and on PhilliesNation.com. Get more of Ruben's analysis during, before, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Read Jim at the All City Network at allphly.com. Find more of me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and occasionally on MLB Network.